The silent war you're fighting and how to finally win. There is a battle happening inside you right now, not the kind anyone can see, not the kind that makes noise or leaves visible wounds. It is the quiet, relentless war between who you are and who you are pretending to be. And the tragedy is not that you are losing this war. The tragedy is that most people do not even know they are fighting it. Every day, you wake up and put on armor that was never yours to wear. You speak words designed for other people's approval. You chase goals that someone else planted in your mind before you were old enough to question them. And somewhere, buried beneath the weight of all this performance, there is a version of you that has been waiting in silence. Waiting for you to remember. Waiting for you to come home. This is not a video about motivation. This is not about becoming more productive or successful by society's metrics. This is about something far more dangerous and far more necessary. This is about the death of the false self and the resurrection of who you actually are. Nietzsche once wrote that the individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. And he was right. But what he understood even more deeply was that the greatest enemy is not the tribe itself. It is the version of the tribe that has taken up residence inside your own mind. You carry their voices with you everywhere, their judgments, their expectations, their fears disguised as your common sense. You think you are making free choices, but examine them closely. How many of your decisions are truly yours? How many are simply echoes of what you were taught to want? The career you are pursuing, the relationship standards you hold, the definition of success you are measuring yourself against. Pull on any thread, and you will find it leads back to someone else's hand. This is what Carl Jung called the persona, the mask we wear to navigate the social world. There is nothing inherently wrong with wearing masks. We all must play roles to function in society. The danger comes when you forget you are wearing one. When the mask grows into your skin and you can no longer tell where it ends and you begin. Most people live their entire lives identified with their persona. They become so skilled at performing that they lose access to the performer. They become the role so completely that the actor disappears. And then one day, usually in the quiet hours of the night, or in moments of crisis, or when they finally achieve everything they thought they wanted, a terrible question emerges. Who am I without all of this? That question is a gift. Even though it feels like a threat, even though your entire being might recoil from it, that question is the first crack in the prison wall. It is the beginning of the end of your captivity. The Taoists understood something that our modern world has forgotten. They spoke of Wu Wei, which is often translated as non-action, but this translation misses the depth. Wu Wei is not about doing nothing. It is about moving in alignment with your true nature rather than forcing yourself against the grain of who you are. Water does not struggle to flow downhill. The oak does not strain to grow from the acorn. There is an effortlessness that emerges when you stop fighting yourself. But here is the uncomfortable truth. Before you can move with this natural flow, you must first stop. You must cease the constant motion long enough to realize how much of your movement has been running. Running from the silence. Running from the emptiness you fear you might find at your center. Running from the terrifying possibility that everything you have built your identity upon might be a construction rather than a discovery. The Stoics taught that we suffer not from events, but from our judgments about events. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, would remind himself daily that he could not control what happened to him, only how he responded. But there is a layer beneath this teaching that often goes unexamined. What if the deepest suffering comes not from our judgments about external events, but from our fundamental judgment about ourselves? What if the root of all our anxiety, our restlessness, our perpetual dissatisfaction is the unconscious belief that who we truly are is not enough? This belief is the virus at the center of the false self. It is the invisible assumption that drives the endless striving, the constant comparison, the desperate need for external validation. You work so hard to become someone because deep down, you have accepted the lie that you are no one. You accumulate achievements like armor because you believe your naked self is somehow shameful. But the sages across all traditions point toward the same paradox. You cannot become who you are through effort. You can only remove what you are not. The sculptor does not add clay to create the statue. He removes everything that is not the form already hidden within the stone. Your true self is not something you build. It is something you uncover. This is why Jung placed such emphasis on shadow work. The shadow is everything you have rejected about yourself. Everything you were told was unacceptable. Everything that did not fit the mold you were given. Your anger, your grief, your wildness, your softness, your ambition or your lack of ambition. Whatever did not serve the construction of the acceptable persona got pushed down into the darkness. But here is the secret that will change everything if you truly understand it. Your shadow is not your enemy. Your shadow contains your unlived life. It holds the energy you need for transformation. Every quality you rejected in yourself took a piece of your vitality with it when it went underground. Every time you said no to an authentic impulse to remain acceptable, you gave away a fragment of your power. Reclaiming your shadow is not about becoming a worse person. It is about becoming a whole person. It is about retrieving the parts of yourself you abandoned in childhood, in adolescence, in every moment you chose belonging over being. Nietzsche spoke of the three metamorphoses of the spirit. First, the camel. The camel kneels down and asks to be loaded with heavy burdens. It says, "I should," and carries the weight of duty, tradition, and external commandments. Most people remain camels their entire lives. They are proud of their burdens. They measure their worth by how much they can carry. But the camel must transform into the lion. The lion says, "I will," instead of "I should." It confronts the great dragon whose scales say, "Thou shalt," and roars its sacred no. The lion claims the freedom to create its own values, to reject what was imposed, to clear the space for something new. Yet even the lion is not the final form. The lion can only destroy. It can say no, but it cannot create. For that, one must become the child. The child is innocence and forgetting. A new beginning, a game, a self-propelled wheel, a first movement, a sacred yes. This is the journey. From obedience to rebellion to creation. From carrying others' expectations to rejecting them to finally discovering what is authentically yours. You cannot skip stages. The camel who never becomes a lion remains a beast of burden forever. But the lion who never becomes a child remains trapped in reaction, forever defined by what he is against, rather than what he is for. Where are you in this metamorphosis? Be honest with yourself. Most of us are still camels who occasionally fantasize about being lions. We carry our burdens and call it responsibility. We conform and call it maturity. We abandon our depths and call it being realistic. The Taoist sage Lao Tzu wrote that knowing others is intelligence, but knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength, but mastering yourself is true power. This self-knowledge he speaks of is not the kind found in personality tests or self-help books. It is not a matter of identifying your traits and preferences. It is something far more fundamental and far more destabilizing. To know yourself is to see through the layers of conditioning, to recognize the voices that speak in your mind as visitors, not as you. To understand that your thoughts and emotions, while valid and worthy of attention, are not your identity. You are the awareness in which all of this appears. You are the space in which the entire drama of your personality unfolds. This recognition does not make your personality disappear. You still have your history, your tendencies, your preferences, your challenges, but you hold them differently. You wear your persona like a loose garment rather than a straitjacket. You engage with your roles without being imprisoned by them. This is freedom, not the freedom to do whatever you want. That is just another form of slavery to impulse. Real freedom is the ability to choose consciously rather than react automatically. It is the space between stimulus and response where your humanity lives. The false self fears this freedom. It will tell you that without the constant performance, without the endless striving, you will become nothing. You will be worthless, unlovable, left behind. This is the voice of fear masquerading as wisdom. Do not believe it. What awaits you on the other side of the false self is not emptiness, it is fullness. It is the vitality you have been spending on maintenance instead of living. It is the energy that has been locked in the endless project of keeping up appearances. When you stop the performance, you do not disappear. You finally appear. This is what all the great teachers have been pointing toward. The kingdom of heaven is within you. The Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao. Know thyself. Love your fate. These are not pretty phrases for posters. They are invitations to the most radical transformation a human being can undergo. The death of who you think you are and the birth of who you have always been. The war inside you does not have to continue, not because you win it through more effort, more willpower, more self-improvement, but because you finally see that the two sides fighting were never real. The true you and the false you were never actually separate. The false self was just the true self in disguise. Playing a game it forgot was a game. Wake up from the game. Not to reject it, but to play it consciously. To dance with form rather than be crushed by it. To wear your masks with a smile because you know they are masks and you know who wears them. This is the invitation. This is the only journey worth taking. Everything else is rearranging furniture in a burning house. Find the fire. Become the fire. Let it burn away everything that was never you in the first place. And from those ashes, watch what rises.